Hey everybody, and welcome to another interior design video. In this video, we're going to be discussing how we transform this one small bedroom into this really nice space that was custom designed for our client. So let's get right into it. Firstly, let's discuss the problems that we faced within this space. As the title suggests, not only was the room small, not only was it tight, but the room was also oddly shaped. We had this one central area in the room that was attached to these two corridors. One was narrower than the other, and one was connected to the bathroom while the other was connected to the main entrance of the bedroom. So we had this one central space with two corridors on either side. The central space itself was like around 10 feet by 9. It wasn't that much, so we had to be quite careful as to how we were gonna design this space. The second issue that we had, I wouldn't say an issue, but the second challenge that we had was that the space needed to have multiple different functional spaces. It was a small bedroom that also needed a study desk, an entertainment area, and a dressing area that would once again, be associated with having extra storage space. So we were supposed to add all of these functional requirements to the concept that we were going to be developing for our client, and this is how we sorted that out. So what we did was we pushed the bed to one side of the room, making sure there was even traffic within the room so that there was ease of movement. Other than that, the main storage cabinet that we had, our wardrobe, we placed that in our wider corridor / gallery area that was near the entrance of the room. Pushing that storage unit to that one corner or one corridor of this room, what that potentially did for the room was that it took care of this tall space-taking element, and it opened up other areas in the room for movement. Once we kind of figured out those two elements of the room, we kind of designed other functional spaces according to that. One thing that I really want to highlight is that we kind of tackled 3 areas with one stone. Like, we kind of hit not 2 but like 3 birds with one stone. What we did was we had this dressing table unit in one corner of the room, way at one corner in our more narrower corridor that was attached to the room, and on the other corner of the room we had our study desk. This study desk wasn't bulky, it was just a floating shelf. So what we did was we connected the dressing table unit and the study desk unit with this long running shelf in between. What that did was that it connected not only all 3 of these, but it gave this additional character to the room. The running shelf itself wasn't that deep. It was just 8 inches deep, but it kind of gave this form to that entertainment area that we needed for this space, where the TV was going to be situated. And because it was connected to the dressing table and to the study desk, it kind of created this wall unit, which technically we didn't have space for, but because it was so it wasn't so deep and it was quite compact, it ended up giving that characteristic while not taking up too much space. Another feature of this room that I want to highlight is the ceiling design that we created for this space. The L-shaped wall unit wasn't just a feature that we limited to the wall itself, but we kind of mirrored the same form and same shape onto the ceiling. What we did was we had this false ceiling drop. We had this drop ceiling in the same L shape that had these featured spotlights These spotlights were around 2 inches in diameter, and that just, this lighting just helped elevate the whole space. And yeah, apart from those spotlights, we also had this accent rope light installed in this drop ceiling as well. The combination of the spotlights with the drop ceiling with the accent lighting just kind of like created this great lighting plan for this bedroom space. We also had additional task slash accent lighting that was installed in the wardrobe. The wardrobe itself, we went for this really nice light wood color that had these black accents. Because of the tight space, we had these sliding glass wardrobe doors that had this fluted design in them, and the glass doors itself had black aluminum borders and black aluminum channels that kind of like created this really nice modern look. And yeah, with that we installed these T5 lighting rods in our wardrobe that kind of just helped elevate the whole look of this space. Other than the accent lighting, we also had something a bit different that the client had requested. They wanted to add like a refreshment area in this bedroom. What we did was, as you have probably seen in hotels, we added this open shelving space where we installed a mini fridge. We had additional shelving for storage, and we created this small refreshment area that was attached to the main wardrobe, and it just gave that really nice hotel luxe look that I would like to say. And yeah, we kind of ended up fulfilling the client's requirement, while at the same time it became an additional feature of the space. Okay, so now on to the design of the bed that we created for this space. As it was the main space taking factor, as I mentioned before, we had to push it to the side. But to kind of give it a bit more character, what we did was that the frame itself was a 7 feet by 7 feet wide frame, which was done in this light wooden color. The wood frame itself. But the headboard, we ended up going for a quilted headboard. Couldn't do 2 side tables for the client because we were constricted in space, and we kind of had to pick and choose. If we gave them 2 side tables, we would be compromising on the movement of this area, and the bed would be too near the study desk unit, and yeah, it would just create a lot of chaos in the room. That's something that we did not want. So yeah, so we pushed the bed towards the wall, sacrificed that 1 side table, and gave them this asymmetrical look for the bed. We couldn't give them a proper side table because of the small area that we had, but what we did was we installed these 2 small compact shelves on top of each other onto the main headboard. So what that did was that gave them that functional side table that they needed. So just to kind of highlight a little bit about the thinking that went behind the color and texture selection of this room. Firstly, the main teal wall that you see was a requirement by our client. They wanted this one bold color in their room that they wanted to be featured, and we ended up adding that onto the main focal wall, which had our dressing, study desk, and running shelf installed. What this teal color did was that it attracted a lot of attention to that area. With that decision to paint that wall teal, we had to be really careful about all of the other colors and textures in the room, and that's exactly what we did. All the other walls were white, pure white, just to kind of balance that out. And another really important decision that we made was that the flooring was kept in a light color. What it did was it kind of opened up the space. Another question that I do get a lot is the type of material that I use for these renovations and design work. Usually people ask me what the cost is when it comes to redoing or renovating their interior spaces. To be honest, I can't give you an exact figure of the cost that can probably occur. The reason for that is because material prices and labor prices, they're always changing. What I can do is that I can kind of break down what kind of materials that I used, so that you can kind of implement the same materials and find out and do your own research as to how much that would cost in your area. So for the wardrobe, we went for MDF sheets that had this wooden design printed on top for the base work. For the black highlights that were attached to the main storage cabinet, we had once again MDF taping that was done in black. And for the doors, we had, of course, this glass panel. It wasn't just any glass panel, it had this fluted design. Other than that, there were also T5 lights installed in the wardrobe. T5 lights don't really cost that much. The wardrobe cabinet, the sheets, the MDF sheets, they are also not a huge cost. But however, the sliding glass doors do have a slightly heavier price tag. So I would recommend that you do check whichever area that you live in, what that would cost you. Moving on, the flooring, it wasn't very high. It wasn't really expensive laminate, but it was like a, it was good quality, but it was like a budget friendly laminate that we went for in this room. And for the bed itself, that was definitely a more costlier item because the headboard was customized. It had a wooden frame that had upholstery done on top. The fabric that we used was suede. You could also replace that with velvet as well. You can get the same look, but make sure that the velvet isn't a shinier velvet, it's a matte velvet. And yeah, the shelving that you see that's installed on the headboard, that's also MDF, the same material that we used for the wardrobe. The bed itself was also made of wood, the bed frame, and it was ash wood to be specific. And yeah, so moving on, the dressing table, the floating study desk, and the running shelf, that was also fully MDF. So that wasn't also a really huge ticket item, but it wasn't that expensive either because it was made in MDF. Other than that, the paint wasn't a huge cost either. The ceiling, definitely, the ceiling was one of our heavier items because we had to kind of add that false ceiling water, that drop down water. The lighting, the spotlights, the 2-inch spotlights, they weren't also a costlier, they weren't costly either, nor was the rope lighting. As you can easily find anywhere online, you can find rope lights and you can find focal spotlights as well. But the gypsum ceiling work was definitely something that is labor intensive, and the material definitely might not be as costly, but the labor work is. So that kind of wraps up the material breakdown for this project. If you have any further questions, do leave a comment below. So I have a question. Do you agree that the functional aspects that we added in this room worked? Do you think we were doing way too much for this one small space, or were we successful in making all of these functional requirements kind of materialize in this interior design concept? So I'll leave you to that. Please do subscribe. If you have any interior design consultations, feel free to visit tanyasheikhstudio.com for your interior design consultation with me. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next one.